Now, I'm not sure why that is, because I know you're going to be quizzed on surface area also. Don't you agree? You've had surface area this semester?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we can do this for a couple of sessions. In other words, today's session we'll go through the volume of each of these, and then maybe our next session we can go through the surface area of each of them. And that would actually be a really good review for geometry, I think. But I don't know. You may have a lot of topics on your review material that is not just volumes of solids.
It's also like SOHCAHTOA and stuff like that.
So some trig.
Yeah.
Okay. Would we be better off doing your stuff? It only takes 30 seconds for you to snap a picture of it and send it to me.
Which would you prefer?
I think I'd rather work on the material he gave you. That's going to be the most exact.
All right, sounds good. Let me pull it up.
Good.
All right, just sent it to you.
Okay. Yeah, this has got to be better to do your stuff. How many pages did he give you? This isn't all it, is it?
No, this isn't all it. This is just one of the pages.
Okay. That's fine. That's what I figured.
I've done more, but I just figured.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to. This will be probably enough to get us through today's session. All right, let me read it here. Which of the following units could be used to describe the measure an area? Okay. Is this so you've done the first two of these?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't like answer number E?
Sorry, what?
I said you didn't like answer number E?
Nah.
A Wigan bunny wearing a Zorro mask?
That's one of the teachers at school, one of them at school, he's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with him, actually. Okay, that's correct. On number 2, that's a... Oh, no, excuse me. That is a sector on number 2. Not a segment. A segment is a line segment.
Oh. Okay.
In other words, if I had, let's go back and look at circles, and I have 2 secant lines, this part right there, from there to there, is a segment of that secant line. Another segment is that part from there to there, which is also a chord, but that's what segment means.
All right.
The area of the figure on the right. What's the formula for the area of a trapezoid? It's the way you should start all of these out. Every single problem, well, except the multiple choice ones, maybe.
Just times it by 1/2.
What is the formula?
It's 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times 2.
Times what?
Isn't it times 2?
Times height.
Times height, okay, yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't want to have it times 2 because that would take away the effect of the 1/2.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
That's all right. So now fill in everything. In other words, whenever you start the problem out with the general formula, the rest of it becomes a piece of cake.
Yep, so the bases are 21 and 16. 1/2 times 21 plus 16 times 10.
And it is the vertical height, not the slant height.
Yep.
All right. We don't need to actually, well, I don't know. Do you want to come up with a number? Is this something you have to turn in?
Yeah.
Well, then you need to go ahead and do this problem. Go ahead and figure it out and circle one up. That's 5 times 37 is 185.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4. A three-dimensional figure that has 2 polygon bases is called a...
Prism?
Yeah, and in fact, that's not really the definition of it. Those polygon bases have to be the same size and they have to be parallel to one another. Otherwise, it's not a prism. In other words, if I draw something like this, that's a prism. Okay? But if I make the smaller base like this, that's not a prism.
Yeah.
It has to be the same throughout. In other words, if you were to cut a line through there, you're going to see a circle that's the same size as the top and the bottom, if it was a prism. And so her definition isn't quite complete. There isn't any other answer that works, so prism is correct, but know that it's not just 2 polygon bases. They have to be equal, opposite, parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5. Boy, all of a sudden everything got easy. Same with my honors geometry student. I could not believe how easy the questions were on her review. So what should I write for number 5 to figure it out?
Circumference. So the area, you need to...
General formulas for both area and circumference.
Area is pi r squared and circumference is 2 pi r.
So they give us the area, 121 pi. So what's that allow you to calculate?
You can square root both sides and cancel out pi to get r.
Which is, what's square root of 121?
11.
So r equals 11. Now what's the circumference?
It would be 22 pi.
This is a classic geometry problem. When you're talking about circles, you have area, you have circumference, and you have radius. If you're given any of those 3, you can calculate the other 2. Okay? So all you need is one of them. And in this case, they gave you area, which allowed us to figure out the radius, which allowed us to figure out the circumference. Oh my goodness, what in the world is that thing? Find the area of an annulus You're basically just using the concept of the heck's an annulus.
I don't know.
Well, let's look it up here. Hold on a second. What is an annulus?
Annulus, a ring-shaped object, structure, or region.
Okay. A ring-shaped object, structure, or region.
So maybe it's like if you have a circle and there's a non-shaded part and the rest of it's shaded. The inside is the annulus.
So you're
Or
saying
the
number
shaded
B,
part is the
little
annulus.
circle minus little circle, big circle?
Big circle, big circle minus
little circle?
Yeah.
Well, I'm still a little confused. In other words, what, hold on.
I think it's like the shaded area problem, but with a circle.
So you have two concentric circles, and the shading is the outside. Is that the annulus?
Yeah, I think so.
The donut?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a donut minus the hole.
Yep.
So it's big circle minus little circle. Okay.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me out of all the answers.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And from what I looked up, that seems to be it also. It's just that...
Because little circle minus big circle would be a negative number, which...
Right, exactly. Exactly. So it's got to be D.
Mm-hmm.
Number of surfaces a square-based pyramid has.
Five?
Yeah. There's one, and then there's going to be...
You have four lateral sides.
Four lateral sides, yeah. There's that one, there's that one, there's that one, and there's, yeah. So 5. In a regular polygon, the segment from the center of the circumscribed circle that is perpendicular to a side is called what? These are weird questions. First of all, why does it have to be the center of a... In a regular polygon, the segment from the center of a circumscribed circle. Well, let's draw us a hexagon and draw a circle around it. Since they say circumscribed. Is perpendicular to a side. So they're talking about that. Which we think of as the height of each triangle. What's that called?
Sorry, what?
What's the answer for this one? Is that a radius?
I don't think so, because it doesn't go to the outside of the circle.
Is it a diagonal? It's not a diameter, and it's not a penguin. It's an apothem. Or as somebody told me the other day, how did he pronounce it? Apothem. How does your geometry teacher pronounce it? Apothem or apothem?
Apothem.
Really? Because I've said apothem. Yeah, no, that's what I've said for 7 years, is apothem. And I asked this kid if that's what his teacher called it, an apothem, and he said, yeah. Now, the part of this thing that is strange, is why did they feel the need to circumscribe a circle about it? Because it's not any part of the problem. I suppose so that they would have things like radius, diagonal, diameter that they could put in as possible answers. Because without the circumscribed circle, how do you describe this thing? I guess you just describe it as a line from the center of the polygon perpendicular to an edge. That's all they need. What's the surface area of that shape there? Now this is a little bit of a harder one. Do the tough shape first. Do both triangles.
That would be 17 by 6 divided by 2.
Times 2, so that's the area of both triangles. That's 102. That's the area of both triangles. And now how many faces are there, lateral faces?
Do 12 by 14 to get one,
okay.
9 by 14 to get one, and 17 by 14 to get one.
Hold on, I don't think so, unless I'm looking at it wrong. 12 by 14 gives you this one. The back one is 17 by 14.
Yeah.
But then this one over here is 9 by, 14, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
For some reason I was thinking we needed to calculate that distance right there. It's 9. So, all right. It wasn't as hard as I thought. Again with the annulus? What the hell? Is teacher trying to be funny or what? You've gone through the whole semester. Have you heard that word before?
Never.
And I hear it about once every 4 years. All right. You know how to draw it. All right. Tell you what, rather than have you send me something else, let's spend the last 8 minutes looking at some of these problems from my honor student. You'll see these are not that hard. In fact, I'm a little shocked at the degree of difficulty on these. On yours and hers, how low it is. You might be in store for a pleasant surprise, or the other way around. All the review material is easy stuff, and then he pops a hard quiz on you. What's the volume of a sphere? General formula.
The sphere isn't it 4 pi r cubed?
4/3 pi r cubed.
Or it's pi r cubed. Okay.
Surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you take your final, they're not going to give you these general formulas, am I right? Or am I wrong?
They're not going to give them to us.
All right. So there's nothing more important you can study for than your general formulas. Don't spend all of your studying time coming up with answers. That's just arithmetic. Make sure you know all the general formulas. So what's the general formula for a cube, the volume of a cube?
For a cube, it's it'll just be base times height times 6.
It's one side cubed.
One side cubed.
The volume of a cube is one side cubed. And that's the same as base times width times height. It's just that they're all the same.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was thinking surf, sorry. I don't know what I was thinking about.
That's all right. Number 3. That's a Regular pentagonal prism. What is the volume of a prism? Any prism.
I forget.
Capital B times H. And capital B is an area base, the area of the base. All prisms are going to have, like I said, two opposite, equal, and parallel bases. So we need the area of this base. What is the area of that?
If you can find out the area of kind of one triangle of it.
Yeah, it's better you memorize this.
Okay.
And you don't have to go through all those
Okay.
calculations.
1/2 ASN, I forgot about that.
Because, and that's the apothem. In this problem, they give you the apothem. And they give you a side and they tell you it's a pentagon. So it's a piece of cake to figure out the area of this particular base. I can't believe that on a test that this would be just, a normal problem. This would be a much better problem if this measurement here was the radial line. You see why?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't give you the apothem, you're going to have to solve for it. And if they give me, say this was 7, and you need to solve for the apothem, you need to figure out this angle, what half that angle is, and then you need to use a trig function to solve for the apothem. And this angle is always something like, 36 degrees or something. It's rarely a 30-degree angle.
Mm-hmm.
So this problem can come in all kinds of degrees of difficulty, and I would think that it would not come this simple. Now, there's another formula for the area of this thing that actually is almost worth remembering also. Because I saw a problem once where they gave you the polygon, but they gave it to you in an angle where you could not figure out how many sides it had. But they gave you the perimeter. In other words, perimeter is the same as the side length times the number of sides. But sometimes they'll just give you the perimeter, and if you don't know this formula, you'd have problems.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, maybe they don't tell you that it's a pentagon. They just say that it's got some number of sides and the apothem is 10 and the perimeter is 50. Well, then you could only use that formula. You would not be able to use this formula because you wouldn't know what S and N were. So make sure you know both of these formulas. You know what I feel like doing, Cole? And I think what's really, really valuable to you is if somehow we do some flashcards. In other words, what I see is the biggest deficiency is you don't remember these general formulas. Now, I realize it's been a couple months since you had all this stuff. But the key for you to do well on your final is going to be to know these general formulas. You know the general formula, you can solve any of these problems. But if you don't, you're in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
On number 7, what's the volume of that? What's the general cone?
It would be capital B times height.
Times 1/3.
Oh, times 1/3, yeah.
In other words, whenever anything goes to a point, you lose 2/3 of the volume.
Yeah.
Same with number 4. It goes to a point. It's not a cone, but it goes to a point. So it's going to be capital B times H divided by 3. Or as I like to do, I like to put the 1/3 first, so I never forget it. But always remember the difference between capital B. Capital B, that is not the same as little b. When I draw a rectangle and I say, what's the area of that? It's little b times h. But when I draw a capital B, that's an area. This is a unidimension. This little b here is like 12 inches. This big B is like 12 square inches. That's the difference. But the area of all prisms is capital B times H, and the area of all prisms that go to a point, in other words, the only thing that separates this number 7 from a prism is the fact that it goes to a point instead of another circle. Well, remember that you lose 1 or 2/3 of the volume, which means the volume has to equal 1/3 of what it would be if it was a prism.
All right.
All right. These are actually really 9 good problems, and I think they're as good for you as they are for that geometry student. You should actually be able to do all 9 of these, finding both the volume and the surface area. So what you really need to review is your general formulas. Once you have the general formula, you don't have any problems at all. You know how to solve them from there. So maybe I'll write down a bunch of general formulas and we'll just I'll drill you on general formulas the next time we have a session. Right. We're only going to have one more session before your final?
I believe so. We can schedule another one.
I'm going to do at least one session, and I honestly think it would be the most valuable thing for you if I just spend the whole half hour asking you general formulas, making sure you know them. If they're not going to let you take a cheat sheet where you get to write all of the general formulas in, then that's the most important thing you could do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Cole, I will speak to you next Monday.
Speak to you next Monday.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.